Good morning, students. Here we start with the gross anatomy of the pericardium, part 3, in which we are going to discuss the ligament of vena cava, or it is also known as the fold of Marshall. So either it is ligament of left vena cava or ligament of vena cava, or it is called the fold of Marshall. Now here it is a fold of serous pericardium. It is basically a fold of the serous pericardium which will extend between the left pulmonary artery and the upper left pulmonary vein. So therefore here if we draw the pulmonary trunk, this is the pulmonary trunk, and if we show the bifurcation of this pulmonary trunk, then this is the left pulmonary artery and this is the right pulmonary artery. This is the bifurcation, and below if we show the left side, the two left side pulmonary veins. So here this is the left pulmonary vein cross section, again this is the left pulmonary vein cross section. On the right side also there will be two pulmonary veins. So therefore now here if I mark this as left pulmonary artery, then the connection, fold of pericardium which will connect the left pulmonary artery with that of the upper or superior left pulmonary vein, this fold of serous pericardium is called the ligament of left vena cava or ligament of vena cava, or it is also known as fold of Marshall. So ligament of vena cava, or it is also known as the fold of Marshall. So it is basically a serous pericardium, fold of serous pericardium which will connect the left pulmonary artery with the upper left pulmonary vein. Now what is the importance of this ligament of left vena cava or fold of Marshall? So many times it is asked in 1 mark question answer or in MCQ. The important constituent will be embryological remnant. It will contain an important embryological remnant in the form of the left duct of Cuvier. So the left duct of Cuvier is its fibrous remnant. The left duct of Cuvier is the fibrous remnant. This is the fibrous remnant of left duct of Cuvier. Rather it is called, this ligament of vena cava, fold of serous pericardium, is a fibrous remnant of left duct of Cuvier. And this is also asked in 1 mark question answer in MCQs, and this left duct of Cuvier will continue superiorly. Remember that it will continue superiorly with left superior intercostal vein. So it will continue with left superior intercostal vein, left superior intercostal vein, and inferiorly this left duct of Cuvier will continue with the oblique vein of left atrium. So inferiorly it will continue with oblique vein of left atrium. So these are the important points of ligament of vena cava. Remember, it is a fibrous remnant of left duct of Cuvier, embryological remnant, and which will be continuous superiorly with the left superior intercostal vein, and inferiorly it will be continuous with the oblique vein of left atrium. So all these points are important as 1 mark question answers or in MCQs. Then we come to, if we come on this side, arterial supply. In the arterial supply, always remember the parietal layer plus the fibrous pericardium. So therefore, the parietal layer and the fibrous pericardium, they are supplied by the arterial branches from internal thoracic artery, as well as the branches of descending thoracic aorta. So this is the arterial supply of fibrous pericardium and parietal layer of serous pericardium. And these questions are also so many times asked in MCQs. Then we come down to the visceral layer of pericardium, visceral layer of serous pericardium. Its arterial supply will be from the coronary arteries. So from the coronary arteries, the visceral pericardium will supply its blood, it will get its blood supply. Then the venous drainage. Now in the venous drainage, once again, the fibrous pericardium and parietal layer together, the fibrous pericardium and the parietal layer of serous pericardium, the venous drainage will be in the azygous vein, as well as the internal thoracic vein, azygous vein as well as internal thoracic vein. Similarly, the venous drainage of visceral pericardium, will be in the coronary sinus, and then we come to the nerve supply. Now, in the nerve supply, the fibrous pericardium plus parietal pericardium, fibrous and parietal pericardium will receive its nerve supply from phrenic nerves. Please note down, it will receive its nerve supply from phrenic nerve. Now we come to the visceral pericardium, which will receive its nerve supply from vagus nerve plus various sympathetic nerves from via coronary plexus. So this is the arterial supply, venous drainage and nerve supply. But remember one thing over here, the fibrous pericardium and parietal pericardium will receive from the same source, and the visceral pericardium will have another different source. So this is the flow chart to how to remember the arterial supply, venous drainage and nerve supply. Now please come on this side. Here we discuss the applied anatomy of the pericardium. In the applied anatomy, please note down, our first applied feature will be the transverse sinus. What is the importance of transverse sinus? During any cardiac surgery, a fibrous thread can be, or any thread can be passed through the transverse sinus by the cardiac surgeon, and there can be the pulmonary trunk and aorta can be ligated in order to prevent the damage to these important structures. So that is the importance of transverse sinus. During any intracardiac surgery, the cardiac surgeon can pass a thread through this transverse sinus to ligate the pulmonary trunk and aorta in order to save them from further damage. That is first point. Then second point. Now in the second point, there will be pericardial tamponade. So what is pericardial tamponade? Pericardial tamponade is any excess of collection of blood, or excessive collection of serous fluid in pericardial cavity. So accumulation of blood and serous fluid where in the pericardial cavity, what will it lead to? It will lead to the diminished cardiac output. So the cardiac output will be diminished as a result of the excess of collection of blood and serous fluid in pericardial cavity. This is called pericardial tamponade. Then we come down to the third important point. In the third important point, it is called paracentesis. Now, what is the other meaning of paracentesis? Other meaning of paracentesis is aspiration. So, paracentesis of what? Of the pericardial cavity. Paracentesis of pericardial cavity or intracardiac injection. Now remember, this is the third point. It is paracentesis or aspiration of pericardial cavity and intracardiac injection. So therefore, in paracentesis of pericardial cavity or intracardiac injection, two different routes are there, and those two routes are: number one, subcostal route, and second, this one will be parasternal route. So in the subcostal route, the needle is passed through left costoxiphoid angle. Through the left costoxiphoid angle, the needle is passed at an upward inclination of 45 degrees. And in this way, paracentesis or aspiration of pericardial cavity can be done. So therefore, in excess of collection of the pericardial fluid, the needle can be passed through subcostal route, through left costoxiphoid angle with the needle at an upward inclination of 45 degrees, in which the excess of pericardial fluid which is collected in pericardial cavity can be aspirated. What about parasternal route? Parasternal route is the most preferred choice for intracardiac injection. So here the needle is passed through the left fourth or left fifth intercostal space across the lateral margin of sternum to avoid injury to the left anterior border of the lung, anterior border of left lung, and the anterior margin of the left pleura or the left pleural sac. Once again, the needle is passed in the parasternal route through the left fourth or left fifth intercostal space just across the lateral border of sternum to to avoid injury to the left lung and left pleura. And this is the most preferred choice for intracardiac injection. So therefore, here we finish the applied anatomy of the pericardium. Thank you very much.